Well, hi everyone, and let's talk about Chapter 8 for ADMG 374. And Chapter 8 is all about project quality. So project quality management, the key to this is that we measure quality because we are trying to make sure that what we deliver satisfies the needs of the sponsors, stakeholders, and the needs or reasons that we went into doing the project in the first place. Okay, so we want to make sure that we satisfy the needs for which the project was undertaken in the first place. Processes. Remember, we are always talking about the PMI processes. And we always start every knowledge area, and remember that quality management is a knowledge area of the PMI, one of the 10 knowledge areas. So we always talk about every knowledge area. We always start with the planning of quality management. And why do we always talk about planning? Because for every project is different and unique. So we will do quality management in this project probably different than we do quality management in a different project. We'll do risk management differently, scope management probably a little bit differently. So we are always talking about planning that knowledge area first. And that is for quality management, that involves identifying which quality standards are relevant to our project and how to satisfy them. A metric is a standard of measurement. So you'll hear the word metric batted around a lot with respect to quality. And what we're talking about with a metric is something that can be measured. It is a standard by which we are able to measure. Quality is all about measurements. Okay, so performing quality assurance is periodically evaluating the overall project performance to ensure that the project will satisfy the relevant quality standards. We've defined those quality standards in the planning portion. And then quality control, monitoring specific project results to ensure that they comply with the relevant standards. Some functionality areas that we look at when we're talking about quality, some aspects of quality in a project that we might look at. So we might look at the functionality of whatever it is that we've designed. Does it meet its intended function? We might look for features. Are all of the features that are supposed to be present, are they present, and will they appeal to the users? The system's outputs, including screens and reports that might be generated, do they meet with the standards and the needs? Are they going to deliver the information that was intended to be delivered? Performance. One of my favorite quality performance metrics is a page will load, a website page will load within 3 seconds. Now, what did I just say? So it's a performance, right? We're talking about the performance of the website. We're talking about the performance of every page on that website, and it is measurable. So that quality standard is measurable. 3 seconds. We can take a stopwatch and we can check the measurement of the page as it's loading. When we click the button, we can check, did it load within 3 seconds? Again, quality standard that can be measured by that metric. Okay, so remember, quality always needs to be measurable. Performance standards are pretty easy ones that we can wrap measurements around. Reliability. And let me go back to that one, because one of my favorite ones is pages will load fast. Well, no, it's not a measurement. You can't measure fast, because fast is subjective, and fast means different things to different people. Just the same as the system's output. The screens will be appealing. Well, what is appealing? What is appealing to me may not be appealing to the users. We may have different ideas in color schemes. We may have different ideas of where things will be placed on the screen to make them, quote, appealing. So we want to make sure we throw out subjective words when we're talking about quality metrics, when we're talking about measuring quality metrics, and we want something that is clearly measurable. Okay, reliability. is the ability of the product or service to perform as expected under normal conditions. Does the system stay up? When you click on that button on the website, you're delivered a page as opposed to an error message, right? Reliability. And then maintainability is how easy it is to maintain the product. Are we going to be able to maintain this going forward? So those are just some of the areas in which we might consider areas of looking at to develop quality metrics and to validate the quality of what it is that we do. So some things that you're going to want to know from the reading this week is who is responsible for quality and what are some of the methods for monitoring quality and how do we perform quality assurance. So what are some of the processes for controlling quality? What are some of the tools used in quality, such as cause and effect diagrams, scatters plots? There's a bunch of different things that we use for determining quality. And then a few of the standards that are out there, such as Six Sigma, CMMI, OPM3. These are some things that you should have some familiarity with because these are terms that are batted around in industry all the time. So when you go into that IT job and somebody talks to you, well, what's your experience with Six Sigma? Even if you have no experience with Six Sigma, you ought to have an idea of what Six Sigma is and what it means. So I encourage you to take a look at those standards and be able to at least have some familiarity with them. So that really brings us to a question of how do we manage or how do we measure quality in our own projects? So a lot of your projects, for the most part, are things like websites, written reports, those kinds of things. So what would be some quality standards that you would make, that you would develop that would be measurable? So remembering that quality is different for different types of projects. One team is going to develop quality standards that are going to be very different from another team because you're doing different projects, right? Okay, so where do you go to find quality standards? Well, there are a number of there's some good standards on web development and web design and user experience. There's some good standards that are out there. You can look for those, and that will help you to develop quality standards for your website. Now, what about written reports? If you are actually doing some kind of report, how are we going to define standards? Well, those kinds of standards would be that the report is free of grammatical errors and spelling errors, that the report is free of confusing sentences, that it has been, that it's been edited in such a way that there are no confusing sentences, that maybe all of the figures are properly labeled. There are a number of measurements. Again, measurements. We need to be able to measure to make sure that the quality standard has been met. So I want you to think about what are some of the quality measurements that are going to be specific for your project and where can you go to find those specific standards. All right, so if you have any questions, of course, don't hesitate to ask, and I look forward to working with you through quality in your